Okay, guys, so I've covered defense, the strategies, and the overall tips I have for the current state of the game, but now it's time to talk advanced offense. I'm Those Sleeves 12. This is how to score a little bit more in NHL 19.
Between the points. Great cut. Snaps one. Score!
So these are going to be in-depth specific scenarios that I want you guys to work on, and maybe this will help generate a little bit more offense. So the first is off the draw. Obviously, you want to have opposite-handed defensemen at all times because of the one-timer and things like that. And also something I want to point out, something I've been saying for the last few months, is that the forward cards in HUT currently are much more advantageous to use on defense, and it's because of their shot rating alone. There isn't really much of a defensive difference as far as statistics go. So they're going to have higher skating, but most defense cards suffer in the shot department. And this example right here, if you win the draw the correct way, so you see your opponent lines up backhand, I line up backhand, most will do the stick lift, so the forehand straight back is extremely effective. And all you have to do, you can do a one-timer right away, but I like to wait just a half step, and firing it either far side or 5-hole is extremely effective. Also, go get Bernie Jeff round for defense, please. The same thing can work if you win it to the far side defenseman. Because he's opposite-handed, you have a few options. You can hold it for a second, wait for the right defenseman or left to go for the one-timer far side, or you can walk in, but you just have to wait and see what the user-controlled player of the opponent does off the draw. Next, I want to talk about being aggressive on offense. So something I've talked about recently is switching to the 1-2-2 red neutral zone and always switching to the player that is closest to the puck to put pressure on. It's something that I've just gotten completely used to, and I've seen from a lot of top other players. What you want to do is, again, make sure that you're not chasing or pressing, but you want to be sure to always be switched to the closest guy with the puck. Now, if you lose a step where he's straight lining or Deke's left or right around you, you need to switch off because that player is no longer useful to you. But I don't want you to think that you're just switching constantly. That's not what I mean. A good way to do it is to hold R2 and use the player selector with the right thumbstick. So holding R2 and hitting to the right will switch to your rightmost side player. So that's a very effective way to switch players. But offensively, you can create a lot, especially in the neutral zone. And then once you're in the zone with the aggressive forecheck, if you switch to all out, you can cause a lot of turnovers. Now, what you want to take notice of, though, is early on, is he very good at avoiding it? Now, you can tell if a player's sweaty, again, pretty early, and doing the 2-3 or the 1-2-2 aggressive can put a lot of pressure on his breakouts, and you're going to cause a ton of turnovers, and you just want to rip shots at that point. Here's a perfect example of the 2-3 in action. So I lose the puck here on a pass, and I've just gotten super aggressive, loses the puck here, and a guy's wide open in the slot for a goal, guys. So, again, you got to be careful being super aggressive against good opponents, very, very good opponents, because they're the ones that'll turn it into a 2-on-1. But on the forecheck, the 2-3 is very effective once you've gotten used to the passive settings and learn how to read the play and whatnot. Next thing I want to talk about is drawing penalties. You have a much higher chance of drawing one if you're holding the left or right deke, or even doing the L2 spin. If you're holding that down, or if you're in any sort of motion where you're holding the left or right deke, this works especially good on a straight line where you're coming right down the boards. Instead of just skating forward, if you hold one of the dekes, either forehand or left hand, as you cross the line, you increase your chance of drawing a penalty tenfold. Next up, I want to talk about taking preemptive angles to further yourself into a play. So for this example right here, a lot of players will go for the hit right at the boards here. Instead, you want to go slightly in front of them because it's going to do one of two things: cause incidental contact or intercept the pass or knock it loose. People that go right for the hit, that could be a boarding penalty. That could be you just getting bumped off. It's not nearly as effective. You guys want to get into the habit of trying to outthink them, go where they're going to be, not where they are. Next, let's talk about taking advantage of a user-controlled defenseman. So, what I've come to notice is it's very difficult to intercept a pass as a user-controlled player on defense. If they're AI, they seem to intercept everything, but a lot of user-controlled players have a hard time blocking the cross crease specifically. So if you're watching and you're trying to decide on a rush whether to go for the shot or the pass, look and see if it's a player controlling the defenseman for that. It's a very good chance that it will go through. Next hit, point shots. If you're going to take a point shot that isn't a one-timer, please fire it along the ice It is much more effective in this game because tips are very, very powerful. All you've got to do is aim straight down at the ice, and your player when in front should tip it home, or it'll cause a huge rebound. One last thing about the D-to-D one-timer, make sure you're aiming to the side the puck came from at the net. It's basically a cheat code with some of the players in Hut. Again, please get Bernie Jeffrey on for your defense. When it comes to breaking into the zone, if you're getting attacked and you have nowhere to go left and right, make sure you start doing reverses. Basically, you just hold the backhand and pass to the side that you want to go to. The reverse is very, very effective, especially with speed and even when you're in the offensive zone. It's something that can draw a lot of players over, and then they're not looking for that pass back. It's extremely effective. Take note of what he's using as far as defensive pressure. If he's using protect net, then you want to avoid using the overload. If he's using high aggressiveness or something higher and he's constantly at you, this is where you want to use the overload, because the overload is predicated on quick passes up along the boards. You're either looking for the one-timer D-to-D or the one-timer in the slot, but it's very difficult to pull off when your opponent is playing protect net. So if you see a lot of guys in front of the net, and not really pressuring you anywhere, and you have a lot of time and space, this is where you want to either do the behind the net or just circle around and wait for that short side wrister. Because again, there's just so many bodies in front. You're gonna get that D-to-D one time, or you're gonna get that cross ice one timer just blocked if you're trying to use the overload against the passive strategies. Quick note on the short side wrister. In my advanced defense video, I talk about defending it and not going left and right. This kid is the example of why you don't go left and right trying to defend the short side wrister. You want to stay in the lane and go up and down. See, he's just trying to meet me, and with the cards that are in the game, especially Gretzky, it's just going to be a nip every time. This one pertains to Hut more than Versus, but I've noticed that the holding the wrister and firing far side in the slot is just as effective as curling in and doing the short side wrister. It works with a slap shot too from a ridiculous angle. You just want to aim top right or top left. It's either going to miss and rim around the boards, or you have a good shot at the goal. When using behind the net, this is what you're looking for. Curl out in front with the one-timer in the slot. All you've got to do, if it's not open the first time, is keep curling around the net, switching between players or reversing behind the net between the three guys. It basically looks like a triangle with the guy in the slot being the one-timer. It's very effective, again, against guys that are using protect net, especially because they'll eventually pull somebody, and it's essentially you'll get someone out there, and eventually they'll have to pull in behind the net because people get impatient, and that's when someone usually is open when using the behind the net strategy. Alright guys, so that was a ton of different info. I just kind of threw it all at you there in different clips. Let me know what you think and if it helps, or if you think there's anything I missed. I didn't really discuss the amount of L2s that is being seen, especially in the pro scene. I think that might be adjusted. Especially with the beta coming, it's going to be very different because the L2 is even more overpowered, and I think that I have a hunch that when EA sees all that, I agree, it's not really hockey, it's just we're playing a video game of hockey. We're not playing Hockey Simulator, so that's why the L2 is so prevalent currently, because it's a very effective way to protect the puck and create some offense for yourself. But I don't really want to show you guys the ins and outs of the extreme ways to set things up with it, because I don't want people to rely on it too much, because I have a feeling that they'll dial it back after the patch. Again, no insider info, just a hunch of mine. But hope you guys like the video. Please subscribe if you like it. Have a good one, guys.